In this video, I'll start by running through what the Razer Atlas has to offer, and then I'll compare it to the Skypad 3.0. I can't compare the Atlas to the Superglide because I don't have one, so bear that in mind. So what are the specs of the Razer Atlas? In terms of size, the Atlas is 45 centimeters wide, 40 centimeters tall, and 5 millimeters thick. It has rounded edges, and it fits my desk space quite nicely. I haven't run out of pad in game yet, so the size feels like a good balance to me. It's got an ultra smooth, micro-edged tempered glass surface and a non-slip rubber base. And penultimately, it's been treated for quieter swipes, which, even if it doesn't make a huge difference, the psychology of the marketing here is excellent because the biggest concern I had with the Skypad was the noise it would make in my house. The most interesting feature though is the oleophobic coating, which means you can clean the product easily and also means your skin sticks less to the pad, which makes it more possible to play without a sleeve, and I'll cover that later. This is a good and a bad thing in my eyes because it's nice to have some innovation in the glass pad market, but having done 5 minutes of Googling into what an oleophobic coating is, during which time I became a literal expert, it's the same coatings that are commonly used on mobile phones, and they start to wear down as soon as you make contact with them. The articles I found were in reference to smartphone screens, and maybe the version applied to the Atlas is more resilient or longer lasting, but I don't know. The coating Razer have used on this product is rated to greater than 9H pencil hardness. The term 9H refers to the hardness rating of glass screens subjected to what's known as the pencil test. 9H is the hardest pencil on the market and contains a graphite core rated as 1 step away from diamonds on the Mohs hardness scale. Now, for the average consumer, that's not very helpful to me, but it does sound bloody hard. Only time will tell how this will hold up, and I'll keep the pinned comment updated with news as this progresses and or changes. So, that's the features out the way. What does all that mean to the average user, and how does it compare to the Skypad? The Razer Atlas is incredibly smooth to the touch. It feels buttery on your fingertips, and the Skypad feels a bit rougher in comparison. Only slightly, but it feels almost like the Atlas has a rounded micro texture, and the Skypad has a more blocky micro texture, if that makes sense. The texture on the Skypad is more noticeable. This is an odd one though, because despite the Razer Atlas feeling smoother to the touch, it has more in-game grip or stopping power than the Skypad does, and this is evident when you place your mouse on it and start to swipe around. It feels a bit more sticky at the end of your swipes, like it has something to grip onto which the Skypad doesn't, and this could be a side effect of the Atlas coating which the Skypad doesn't have. So maybe it's this that provides the additional grip. I actually love the additional grip that Razer Atlas offers over the Skypad. The Atlas also seems to have slightly less speed when doing the hairdryer test, and it is also noticeable in game. That's not to say the Atlas is slow though, because it's still very fast, it's just not as crazy quick as the Skypad. This slightly reduced speed and slightly increased friction helps to offset some of the lack of control that comes with significantly increased speed on hard pads more generally. And this is what I was hoping to get from the Razer, which I mentioned in my previous video too. This brings me to the conclusion that the Razer Atlas is a better choice than the Skypad for first-time hard pad users, as the transition will be easier if you come from cloth pads. The Atlas also has a solid base, and this makes the Atlas feel like a luxury product when compared to the Skypad. In fact, the entire build quality of the Atlas feels much better than the Skypad does, and I think Skypad would need to consider this approach to their products if they want to remain competitive with future releases. It's such a small feature of the Atlas, but I can't understate how much better a solid base feels than a pad with flex in the middle. The video on screen demonstrates the flex on the Skypad, and although subtle on camera, it is noticeable in day-to-day use. The Razer looks to have flex too, but it's just reflecting the softness of the base squishing under the pressure I'm applying with my thumb. The surface has no flex at all, it's just the base moving there. Along a similar theme, The temperature on the Skypad is less consistent than on the Atlas, and by that I mean if I keep my hand in one place on the Skypad, it will be noticeably cooler in other areas. I didn't notice this on the Atlas because it has less airflow due to the solid base, and therefore I assume it means the heat from your hand disperses more evenly through the surface and the base. I'm not sure if this results in any performance differences, but it's an observation nonetheless. With reference to in-game performance, I've been hitting some crazy shots and beaten some of my aim training high scores which I set on the Skypad only a few days ago. I have noticed that my aim feels more consistent with the grip that the Atlas offers. I have less of that slippery when on target feeling I mentioned previously on the Skypad, and I find it easier to both track and flick on the Atlas. Taking it back to sound, the coating applied to the Atlas, which was marketed to make it quieter, had an interesting effect. On screen, you can see how much noise I measured each mouse feet and mouse pad combo to make, both for slow and fast swipes. While the Atlas and Skypad are fairly uniform in terms of sound for the slower swipes, when you speed things up, the Skypad sees significantly increased volume, whereas the Razer sees much lower increases in sound volume with the faster swipes. Therefore, the quiet swipe treatment seems to have worked, but not in the way I expected. It only appears to dampen the sound of faster swipes. As a less quantifiable observation, the Atlas seems to have a more pleasing sound than the Skypad. The Skypad is a bit scratchy in its sound, and the Atlas is slightly easier on the ears. And this makes it sound or feel quieter to the naked ear, even though it's really only quieter at higher swipe speeds. I tested the Atlas with stock G-Wolves PTFE skates, Tiger Ice G Pro X Superlight feet, and Tiger Ice dots, and I preferred the Tiger Ice feet to the stock G-Wolves feet, as they had a smoother glide. I couldn't test core pads this time round, because I've gifted my G303 to a friend, so I can't provide that comparison. If you've made it this far through the video and I've helped you in some way, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. I'm running a hard pad giveaway at the moment, and if you'd like to enter, see the link in the description below. I'll be choosing the winner towards the end of April. Do you need to wear a sleeve with the Atlas? And personally, I do still wear a sleeve on the Atlas, mostly because I'm used to it now, and it doesn't bother me at all to do so. But if I wanted to play without a sleeve, it's definitely more manageable on the Atlas than it is on the Skypad. I do find that my fleshy bits by my thumb and my palm still have a bit of stick on the pad on the Atlas, which I think would hinder my aim in some way, but I've no doubt if I played for a few days without a sleeve, I would be able to adapt to this. In terms of cleaning the Atlas, I don't want to go into too much depth here. All I want to cover is that you shouldn't use any cleaning products on this pad, and those products will actively remove the oleophobic coating and therefore wear the pad down quicker than it would do otherwise. The Razer team advise using a damp flannel to wipe it down, but again I've been using my sleeve to wipe it if I notice any scratchy bits, and that has been working fine for me. Overall, what are my thoughts? The only downside to the Razer Atlas for me could be the oleophobic coating. It is unknown currently how long this will last before it wears out, and when the coating wears off, I'd be amazed if it didn't mess with the feel of the pad, similar to the Apple on screen now. I think it's safe to assume the coating will last for 12 months, because that's the duration of the warranty, but I would have liked to have seen a number of hours of use you can expect to get from the pad before the coating has been compromised to a point that it is noticeable. The Skypad is probably the more consistent pad for long-term use for this reason alone, but that's a huge assumption on my part that the coating degrading over time will be noticeable. I'd be ecstatic for Razer to confirm this will not be the case, but they haven't replied to my tweet. If they do, I'll update the pinned comment below. The pad that I prefer is the Razer Atlas. It feels easier to control and still offers a very high speed and low friction experience when compared to cloth pads. It also provides all the benefits glass pads offer more generally, which I covered in my previous video. I'll continue to use the Razer for the foreseeable future and report via the pinned comment if my experience changes over time. My final recommendations are that if you want uninhibited speed and more surface area, the Skypad 3.0 XL is probably the choice for you. If you want a pad that could be used without a sleeve, has around 15% more control with maybe 10% less speed than the Skypad, and a more premium feeling product overall, the Razer Atlas is a solid choice and 100% worth picking up. If you are new to glass pads and are unsure of what to expect if you buy one, check out my recent video linked in the description. It may help you to understand the main differences between both cloth and glass pads. The HSK Pro and Razer Atlas are now my favourite aiming combination, and I have found what I am looking for in this element of my gaming setup. Until the next innovation piques my interest, of course. The next peripheral I expect to review is the Wooting 60HE, noting I'm very late to that party. Thank you very much for watching this review. That's the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one.